Who is calling for the Buffs to lay an egg in 2023? I'll tell you who it is, why, and we're going to talk about it a little more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about who said Colorado is going to be laying an egg. We're going to be talking about Tim O'Boyle had a nice little interview with The Athletic that kind of detailed why they made the roster moves they did, Sean Lewis's offense. And then the Pac-12 is taking on some new challenges, I guess, in 2023. They're going to have a new immersive, experience for the fan to try to maybe be more attractive in their media rights deals. I don't know. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But before we do, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it may be. We're free. So check us out. Okay. First things first, Colorado. I wrote about it over on Athlon. It was called clickbait. It's not really clickbait. It's what happened. It was just, I can't put the whole context into the title. I only have so many words for my titles, you know? On three's JD Piquel, who good friend of mine. In terms of we've chatted before, and he'll probably make an appearance on the show eventually. He was asked on his show who between Auburn or Colorado was more likely to have a 9-3 record in 2023. And so obviously they both have new coaches. They both are kind of rebuilding. And so JD said, to be real with you, I don't know if I would take either team to go 9-3 because they're both in such a rebuild phase. But obviously, for the sake of this exercise that he was doing, he had to pick someone. So he said, I think Auburn, with having a little bit more of an established roster, I think the rebuild nearly isn't as drastic as what Coach Prime is doing in Colorado. I'll lean Auburn, but Colorado is going to be fun to watch over the next couple of years. Okay, that's fine. Follow-up question, though, was which program was more likely to lay an egg? And again, this isn't JD just coming out and saying Colorado's going to lay an egg. This is him having to answer a hypothetical question where, let me get some light over here. There we go. This is him having to answer a hypothetical question, which unfortunately just did not work in Colorado's favor. So the question again, who's more likely to lay an egg in 2023? A phrase that he even said was harsh. He says, there's no data on Coach Prime at Colorado. I have stood here and told you I think it's going to work. I think it's going to take some time. But for 2023, he's putting together a roster of like 70 new guys. There's no data point for me to really go off of. We haven't seen Deion Sanders play FBS football yet. Same thing with Travis Hunter. I have no doubts about them. I'm just saying seeing it in a game is my only reservation. So I feel like lay an egg was obviously a little harsh of a question for sure. I guess when you compare it to Auburn, Auburn's roster was more ready when Hugh Freeze took the job. But I do think the Buffs are going to shock some people. And I think a lot of the reason that people are asking about what Colorado's floor is because they're kind of worried about what their ceiling is. I think I have the win totals right here. Let me pull them up for you guys. As you can see, if you're listening, I have the Pac-12 win totals, which Colorado is currently slated as the lowest team in the Pac-12, tied with Stanford at 3.5. I feel like a lot of people are expecting Colorado to hit that mark, somewhere around 3 or 4. But with every other transfer edition, it's like, how good are they going to be actually? And it's like, one, we don't really know. I mean, it's okay to say we don't know because we don't. We have to wait for them to take the field. We have to wait for them to hit someone that's not in a Buffalo uniform, and we have to wait for all these guys to take the field together. I will say, though, their latest transfer editions have been getting more and more concerning for other programs. Alton McCaskill was someone who was visiting Florida and still chose Colorado. He's a Texas guy. I'm sure multiple schools in Texas would have wanted him if he had interest there. But the former American Player of the Year, or Freshman of the Year, whatever it was in 2021, he chose Colorado. Now Colorado arguably has the best backfield in Pac-12. And so I think a lot of people are saying they're going to lay an egg because there's a lot of new faces. I think there's a lot of people that want to doubt Coach Prime because I think it looked easy for him at Jackson State, and you see it all the time. People say that Jackson State out-talented everybody, which in a way is true, I guess. But you still have to win those games. Like, coaching matters, practice matters. You can't just have a roster full of Power 5 transfers and be like, okay, we're going to be great. This is going to be huge for us. Like I said, I always make this comparison. You guys are probably sick of it. When I cover Texas, my first year, or not my first year, Steve Sarkisian's first year, he brought in an Alabama, LSU, and Notre Dame transfer. 2 of the 3, I think, maybe even all 3, were reserves or didn't have major roles at their previous school, but everybody thought they would be really good, but they weren't. But just because they went to Alabama, LSU, and Notre Dame, everybody's like, they're going to be super good. And so I think people keep saying they out talented people at Jackson State. It still matters about the coaching and the product on the field. Just because they come from a school with a bigger logo and a more renowned program doesn't mean they're just gonna be better. But Colorado has hit the portal really hard, as we all know, and I think they're really rounding out a good team. I do think that I would definitely take that over if I was a betting man. But I guess we'll have to see. I feel like before we move on, to lay an egg for Colorado next season, I think they'd literally have to win one game. Like, I think that would be considered laying an egg, because everybody says win more than one game and that's an improvement. And while the standard's low, that's how bad this team was last year. Obviously last year's team. This is not the same team. But to win more than one game is an improvement. So I think if they were to lay an egg, quote unquote, I think it would be them winning 1 or 0 games, which I obviously don't think would happen. So I think that'd be them laying an egg, because if they win 4 games, while they're not going to make a bowl game, that's still a success in terms of where they were last year. So we'll just have to wait and see how this Colorado team does. Before we move on, though, guys, if you are looking for a perfect short, it's getting hot, especially where I live. We're hitting the hundreds pretty soon here. It's been 95, 96 every day. So if you need some shorts that fit you perfectly, but they're comfortable and they can kind of be used in a variety of ways. They're versatile. If you want to use them on the golf course, you want to use them at a nice dinner, you could do them. They're called bird dog shorts, or they're called bird dog. And let me tell you about bird dog. I personally just got my pair a few days ago. I took them out for a test drive on a date with my girlfriend. She thought they were a nicer pair of shorts I had. They actually fit like they remind me of like basketball shorts, if you will, or like yoga shorts, but they're super nice looking. They look like a khaki short, cargo short, if you will. Super nice looking, super comfortable. You guys need to go check them out. Let me give you a little more information about them real quick. Here we go. Let me pull up there we go. Bird dogs, yes. So go to birddogs.com/locked on. And when you enter promo code locked on college, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Again, go to birddogs.com/locked on college, where you enter your promo code locked on college, all one word, all caps, locked on college. They'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. They're super comfortable shorts. Go check them out. I myself have been rocking my 2 pairs that I've gotten for, I guess, a few days I've had them. And I love them. They're great shorts, and I think you guys would be missing out. Comment below which ones you think you're going to get, because I like the ones I got. So maybe we could compare styles or something. Okay. So I have to tell you guys about the latest interview from Tim O'Boyle in The Athletic. The article title is, "Can Deion Sanders' Colorado offense under Sean Lewis get sped up to speed by week 1?" As we all know, their offense is the fastest in college football. According to True Media, which is kind of funny. My friend works there and does a lot of their analytical stuff. Their offense runs a play every 22.4 seconds. So says Kent State ran one of the fastest paced offenses in college football under Lewis, ranking 3rd in fewest seconds per snap, 22.4 over the past 4 seasons. Obviously, that fast motion is coming to Colorado. But there was multiple interesting things that stood out to me. One, O'Boyle sounded so confident, and you love to see it. He said, "I get everybody wants to see us fall on our faces. Excuse me, no doubt. We're getting pounded by all the other schools asking players, why are you going to Colorado? They are not established. We know we have 5 million eyes on us, so we're not going to do anything out of line. But at the end of the day, when you put that chip on your shoulder, you're a difficult cat, or you're a different cat. And those are the cats we want. We're going to get things done right." He continues saying, and he made it clear, talking about Coach Prime, he will do whatever it takes to get better. He said it from the first staff meeting to our last staff meeting in spring ball right before the spring game. If he says something is going to happen, it usually happens. He's that kind of guy. Coach Prime gave those kids a chance up through spring ball until the last day to make it. Then the real decisions were made. And then they were asked why he was asked why the decisions happened so late. He said the personnel was so bad here. By the time we even got in pads, we knew some kids weren't going to be with us post spring. We had to do what we had or what we did, and that's what people don't get it. I don't know how people ride our asses about it. We didn't have a choice. I run into guys on the road that played us and tell us the same thing. Anybody that knows Colorado football, this had to be done, and it's a shame we had to get to this point, but we didn't have a choice. So that's him talking about the roster and why it kind of went in the manner it did, because a lot of people were upset about it. But now to talk about Sean Lewis, he said to see what Sean Lewis and what we did there at Kent State, people didn't take the chance and go after him is beyond me. Anybody that knows ball and knows what happened there, it pisses me off that he didn't get a bigger opportunity. And then it tells a cool story that Coach Prime was so interested in Sean Lewis's system, he reached out to Oklahoma University's co-defensive coordinator Todd Bates to inquire about Sean Lewis, because last season Oklahoma played Kent State and they actually led at one point 7-3, and so they told him obviously great things, and Coach Prime was like, "Fine, I'll pay that $750,000 buyout. Let's do it." So it talks a little bit about what Sean Lewis's offense brings to the table. Obviously, tempo, fast, one of the fastest offenses in the country. Speed was emphasized during Boulder. They had RPOs, which is obviously a major part of football. Let me read this cool quote though. He says we have to be simple and precise as we can be. Everything we run has to fit what we can see defensively. We don't have time to make 3 checks up front. Everything is built in. So it's boom, boom, boom. RPOs is a huge part of college football and football in general. A lot of RPO stuff has been run in basically every system across the country, but Sean Lewis's system uses it exclusively or not exclusively, but they use it a lot because they could either target a safety, and someone could go deep, they could read a defender and use a little bubble screen, anything. So the RPO game is huge. But yeah, I thought that was a great, interesting. And then the last part of it is the QB run game. We had to develop more strength than anything, said O'Boyle. We had a ass kicking schedule at Kent State, and we have to develop the toughness here. I'm not sure anyone's even lifted weights in this program before. Yikes. Okay. I think that's about Kent State as well. So don't get too crazy about him. But yeah, no, I think obviously the Sean Lewis offense is going to be something that when it works, it's going to be working great. And so I think that's why this fall camp is so important, to kind of determine position battles right away. Obviously, I know it's not that easy, but if guys want to start, it'd be best for them to be doing more than the required work for them that Coach Prime and their strength staff gave them, because obviously in the summer they can't work together, and just kind of fill that void right away. Because I think right now the solidified starters, Shadur, Travis Hunter at receiver / corner, Jimmy Horn for sure. I think that might be it. Like defensively, there's some secondary guys, but offensively, there's a lot of spots open. I think Alton McCaskill and Kavosi Smoke are going to be duking it out for that starting running back spot. But this Sean Lewis offense is going to push the tempo. It's going to push these guys as far as they could go, because they need an edge over all these other defenses, all these other teams. Like, I think the crazy thing when people look at Colorado's schedule is they see it as it's so difficult they have no chance. But the whole point of Coach Prime bringing in Sean Lewis was to give Colorado an upper hand. And what better way than to go faster than everybody? Everybody thinks they're fast, but when you're not as fast as somebody else, it shows. And so I think that's what Colorado's biggest difference is going to be. And I think we'll continue to see that as the year goes on. Before we move on to our last segment of the day, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We're nearing 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm continuing to see my listener number grow. I thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Everydayers is what I'm calling my everyday listeners. You guys are the best. Comment below if you're an everydayer. Comment below some questions that you would like me to discuss that I could do at a later episode. I have had some great ones already. Would love to continue to discuss them. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs. We're free, available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to share, like, subscribe the podcast and everything you got to do to get the word out. Okay. Obviously, the Pac-12 conference has had some issues in terms of expansion, media rights. I talked about expansion happening soon yesterday, so go check that out if you want to see that. In a report today, by, I believe ESPN had it for first. I'm not really sure who reported it first. It's kind of one of those dump reports where like 5 outlets had it. So I saw Heather Dinich's report first, and I'm gonna go with hers because during grad school when I went to Quinnipiac, which is in Connecticut, um, where I got my master's in sports journalism, she actually came to one of my classes and spoke, and so I'm gonna go with her report because she's nice. um, the Pac-12 is going to provide enhanced access to college football broadcasts. What does that mean? So, with the support of conference's head coaches, the Pac-12's board of directors developed the initiative alongside ESPN, Fox Sports, and recently approved them. And so there's going to be content implemented throughout the Pac-12 games on ESPN, Fox Sports, and the Pac-12 networks. Um, so there's going to be key games that have obviously some extra access. So it won't be as live as the XFL fans have seen this as, but it's a step designed to bring college football closer to other sports like Major League Baseball. I've been doing for a long time. The Pac-12 for the first time is actually the first conference to do something. The Big 12 is exploring the concept, but the Pac-12 is the first to put it into motion and put it into plan. So, a little bit about what they will be doing. They're going to have, let me find it. They're going to have coaching interviews, in-game coaching interviews with select head coaches and players wearing mics during pregame activities. They're also going to have cameras in the coaches booth without sound, extended handheld camera permission, and pregame and halftime locker room access. The additional content will be implemented through the Pac-12 games on ESPN, Fox Sports, and the Pac-12 networks. This is huge. Let me tell you why this is huge. One, I think week one, what's it called? Fox Big Noon Kickoff. Coach Prime is going to be mic'd up for sure. Probably Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter are going to be mic'd up against TCU. That game is going to be huge. This kind of gives the Pac-12 an edge that they haven't had this entire calendar year. Sorry, I got an itch right now. Since last July, the Pac-12 has kind of been playing defense. They lost USC and UCLA. There was no defense to be played there. It was a full court prep that USC and UCLA ran the ultimate trick play. They were working in the depths. They were working in the shadows, and they got it. There was no defense there. But for the rest of the months of the year, the Big 12 has constantly been coming at them, trying to poach their teams. The Big 10 has kind of been poking and prodding and like, you know what, the Big 10, there's a difference between the Big 10 and the Big 12. Little tangent real quick. The Big 12 is very openly okay with like ending the Pac-12. Like they do not care if they like kill the Pac-12. The Big 10 doesn't want to be responsible because they're already one of the two power conferences in college football right now based off of money. And so they don't want to be responsible for ending another conference. They want someone else, aka the Big 12, who's all excited to try to be the conference killer. They want them to do it so that way they could be like, well, the conference was already dead when we took Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal, or whoever they take. But yeah, the Pac-12 finally is going on the offensive. Obviously, the article says the Big 12 was in talks to do it or was thinking about doing it, but the Pac-12 did it, and so that's something we haven't seen from them this entire year. Was action? You know, I think we've kind of been waiting, and it's like there's a little meme. I love this meme. It's like a little stick figure guy poking he has a stick and he's poking something, and you usually put like your favorite sports team or your favorite athlete or whatever. Like when you make the meme, you put them under the stick and it says, "Come on, do something." And that's been me and probably all of you with the Pac-12 this entire year because we've just been waiting for them to do something for anything really, and we haven't got it. We've gotten pledges of allegiance from certain programs like we're not going to leave the Pac-12, and that's about it. We've gotten deadlines that have been passed 7 times both ways. Like they're like, yeah, we'll have something in the beginning of April. We'll have something by May 1st. We'll have something whatever. Like they keep throwing out deadlines and then missing them. And so the Pac-12 to finally have some good publicity is huge. And okay, I want you guys to comment below who you would want to see mic'd up the most in the Pac-12. Coach Prime, I feel like would be fascinating. Caleb Williams would be fascinating. Shedeur, Lincoln Riley. I don't know if I said him. I think, and this is probably an underrated one, but probably because I don't know. I feel like we don't hear a lot from him. Dan Lanning at Oregon, I feel like he'd be fascinating just because he's kind of trying to rebuild Oregon and turn it into like a SEC power out west. Also, Jonathan Smith at Oregon State, DJ Uyunglele would be cool. Comment below who you'd like to see mic'd up. I feel like there's a lot of characters out there in the conference. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. That was really cool news to wake up to, because honestly, the Pac-12 has kind of been my former employer, actually, on the Pac-12 network, has they've been down. They've been down bad, for lack of a better term. I just feel like they haven't had a lot of good publicity lately, and so for them to finally have some good news come their way is exciting for me, because I don't want to see college football break apart and go into this two-conference mega conference ordeal. I just don't want to see it. That's not the college football I grew up loving. Obviously, there's always going to be conference expansion and conference realignment, but that's not what I wanted to see. Not just the SEC and the Big Ten being the only two powers, and then everybody else is just there playing for fun, essentially. So good on the Pac-12 for taking a chance, taking a risk. Maybe we're going to see some expansion soon, like I said. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode of Locked On Buffs. This is all I got for you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, we're free. We're here every day, and we're available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure you share, like, subscribe. Again, I have a lofty goal of getting 10,000 subs by August, which is in May, June, July, August, few months. So I'm excited to see how close we get. We're nearing 2,000 right now. So 10's obviously lofty, but you got to set the goals high so that way you could get there. And if we fall short, we'll be in the stars, or whatever the saying is. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. Again, comment questions below so we can have a Q&A thing. I appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow.